All right, picture this. You wake up, grab your phone, probably made in China, by the way, and see the headline, China suspends all trade with US for 30 days. Your first thought? That's insane. Your second thought? Wait, what does that actually mean for me? Buckle up, because we're about to walk through a month that would make 2008 look like a minor hiccup. This isn't some distant geopolitical drama. This affects whether you can get your prescription filled, whether your kid gets that birthday present, and whether you still have a job next month. Let me be crystal clear. This scenario would be economic carnage on a scale most people can't even imagine. We're talking about severing the world's most important trade relationship overnight. It's like unplugging life support and hoping the patient survives on willpower alone. Days 1 to 3, when Wall Street loses its mind. So the announcement drops. Maybe it's a Monday morning, because why not make it worse? Beijing releases a terse statement. All trade with the United States suspended for 30 days, effective immediately. The reasons don't even matter at this point. Maybe it's tariffs, maybe it's Taiwan, maybe it's tech sanctions, whatever. The damage is the same. Within minutes, trading algorithms start freaking out. These computerized systems see the news, run their calculations, and basically decide, sell everything. By the time human traders finish their coffee and check their Bloomberg terminals, the market is already in free fall. The S&P 500, down 6 to 8% by market, close on day one. That's roughly $3 trillion in market value just gone. Poof. Evaporated into thin air. But here's the thing, not everyone bleeds equally. Some companies are going to get absolutely destroyed. Apple gets demolished. We're talking 18-20% drop in a single day, maybe more. Why? Because practically every iPhone, every MacBook, every AirPod comes from Chinese factories. Foxconn, Pegatron, all those massive manufacturing complexes, they're all in China. Without China, Apple doesn't have a product to sell. Their supply chain isn't just dependent on China, it is China. Tim Cook is probably in emergency meetings trying to figure out if they can shift production to India or Vietnam. Spoiler, they can't, not in 30 days, probably not even in 30 months. Tesla? Same story, maybe worse. Half their production capacity is in Shanghai. Plus, they've been counting on the Chinese market for growth. China represents about 25% of Tesla's revenue. Elon's probably posting something cryptic on X at 3 a.m., but the stock is tanking regardless. Down 15-18% easy. And then there's retail. Walmart, Target, Best Buy, Amazon. These companies are basically Chinese import distribution centers with American branding on top. Their entire business model depends on an endless river of container ships from Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Ningbo. That river just ran dry. Walmart's shelves are stocked for maybe 2 weeks, then it's game over. Their stocks are cratering, down 12, hovers 15%. The tech sector is burning. NVIDIA, AMD, Qualcomm, all the chip designers who manufacture in China or depend on Chinese assembly, software companies who sell to Chinese consumers, cloud providers with data centers in China. Everyone's getting hit. Meanwhile, gold is shooting up like a rocket. We're talking $150, $200 jumps in a single day. Oil prices surge, not because there's a shortage, but because markets are panicking about what comes next. If the US and China are in economic warfare, what does that mean for global stability? Traders are jamming the sell everything button and parking money in anything that feels safe. The VIX, the market ASU fear gauge, spikes to levels we haven't seen since March 2020. Options traders are making fortunes on puts. Regular investors are watching their retirement accounts implode in real time. The financial news channels are in full crisis mode. You've got economists and split screens arguing about whether this is temporary market jitters or the beginning of economic catastrophe. CNBC has probably rolled out some dramatic graphics package. Trade war, day one, with ominous music. Bloomberg is running tickers showing losses by sector. Fox Business and CNN are somehow managing to blame different political parties for the same crisis. Spoiler alert, it's closer to the second one, but nobody wants to say it out loud yet. Admitting we're screwed doesn't play well on television. By day 3, the panic is setting in deeper. The initial shock is wearing off, and now people are doing math. Analysts are publishing reports. If this continues for 30 days, here's what happens to GDP. The numbers aren't pretty. Estimates range from 1 to or 2% GDP contraction just from the direct trade impact, not counting all the secondary effects. For regular people, day 1 through 3 feels abstract. Sure, your 401k just took a 15% hit, but it's just numbers on a screen, right? You're not worried yet. The grocery store still has food. Amazon is still delivering packages. Well, the ones that aren't stuck in Chinese ports. You should be worried. Week 1, the shelves start looking. Sad fast forward a week, and now shit's getting real. Remember the toilet paper panic of 2020? Multiply that by every product category you can think of. Walk into any electronics store if you can find one that's still properly stocked. That new iPhone 16 Pro? Good luck finding one. Apple sold out of existing inventory in about 48 hours. The Samsung Galaxy S26 that was supposed to replace it, also made in China. Gaming consoles. The PS5 is still around but scarce. Xbox Series X too. Laptops, TVs, headphones, smartwatches, fitness trackers, cameras. Everything's either sold out or being price gouged to hell. A regular laptop that was $600 last week, now it's $950 on the secondary market, and people are actually paying it because they know it's only going to get worse. Scalpers are having a field day. eBay and Facebook Marketplace are full of listings with insane markups. But electronics are honestly the least of our problems. The real nightmare is pharmaceuticals. Here's something most people don't know. China produces about 80% of the active pharmaceutical ingredients, APIs in industry speak, for drugs sold in America. We're talking antibiotics like amoxicillin and azithromycin, blood pressure medications, ACE inhibitors, beta blockers, diabetes drugs, antidepressants, pain medications, critical life-saving medications that millions of Americans take every single day. Pharmacies start putting up notices. Limited supply due to supply chain disruption. CVS, Walgreens, your local independent pharmacy, they're all making calls to suppliers and getting the same answer. We don't know when we'll have more. If you're someone who depends on daily medication to, stay alive, this is absolutely terrifying. People with diabetes who need metformin, people with heart conditions who need their beta blockers, people with depression or anxiety who need their SSRIs, suddenly they're rationing pills, taking them every other day to stretch supplies, calling every pharmacy in a 50-mile radius trying to find stock. The automotive industry hits a wall. Modern cars are basically computers on wheels, and most of those computers, the chips, sensors, displays, control modules, come from China or use Chinese components. Ford announces temporary production slowdowns at 3 plants. GM does the same. Stellantis follows. That's corporate speak for, we can't build cars without the parts we're not getting. Dealerships that were already struggling with inventory, remember, just-in-time manufacturing means minimal stock, now have basically nothing to sell. If you were planning to buy a new car, forget it. Used car prices spike again, just like during the pandemic. But here's who gets hit hardest and fastest. Small businesses. That local electronics shop can't restock. They've got empty shelves and nothing coming to fill them. The restaurant owner discovers replacement parts for kitchen equipment are indefinitely delayed. The walk-in cooler breaks. Good luck finding a technician who has the parts to fix it. The contractor can't find the tools and materials they need. Power tools, electrical components, plumbing supplies, so much of it comes from China. Logistics companies that move Chinese goods, they're hemorrhaging money with idle trucks and empty warehouses. Port workers in Long Beach and Los Angeles, the main entry points for Chinese goods, are getting reduced hours. Thousands of containers are stuck in Chinese ports, and thousands more are on ships in the Pacific that are now basically floating warehouses with nowhere to unload. This is the week when the abstract becomes personal. You go to refill your prescription? Sorry, we're out and don't know when we'll get more. Want to buy a new laptop for work? Back-ordered indefinitely. Your kid's birthday is coming up and they wanted that new gaming setup? Not happening. Need a replacement part for your washing machine? Maybe in a few months, maybe never. Prices start jumping on everything that's still available. A 65-inch TV that was $600, now $900 if you can find one. Smartphone accessories, headphones, charging cables, anything electronic is getting marked up 30 to 50%. And it's not just electronics. Clothing prices jump because so much is manufactured in China. Furniture, home goods, toys, sporting equipment, all going up. Even things you wouldn't expect, like certain foods, because processing equipment or packaging comes from China. Vitamins and supplements, pet supplies. Your grocery bill this week is noticeably higher. Not just because of imported food, but because packaging materials, processing equipment, even the trucks that deliver goods, all depend on Chinese components or manufacturing. You're paying 10-15% more and getting less variety. Some items just aren't on the shelves anymore. Week 2. The factories go silent. By week 2, the crisis moves from retail to production. If week 1 hurt consumers, week 2 destroys jobs. American factories start shutting down production lines. Boeing can't finish planes without certain avionics components and interior elements. They announce temporary suspension of production on the 737 line. Thousands of workers sent home. Appliance manufacturers, Whirlpool, GE, halt assembly because they're missing control boards and electronic components. Even construction slows to a crawl. Building materials like certain fixtures, electrical components, HVAC systems, so much originates in China. Construction projects get delayed. Workers are idle. The whole housing market, which was already dealing with affordability issues, takes another hit. Then come the layoffs. First, it's temporary unpaid leave. Corporate language for we're not firing you yet, but we're also not paying you. Companies are hoping this gets resolved quickly, so they want to keep workers technically employed. But hope doesn't pay mortgages. Then it's actual pink slips. Manufacturing workers first. If the line isn't running, you don't need people on the line. But it spreads quickly. Warehouse workers at distribution centers that normally handle Chinese goods. Truck drivers with nothing to haul. Dock workers with no containers to unload. Sales teams at import companies with nothing to sell. Customer service reps handling complaints about unavailable products. Except now there are so many complaints the company can't afford to keep everyone. It's not just blue-collar jobs either. Office workers get hit. Project managers for supply chain operations. Procurement specialists. Import-export coordinators. Marketing teams at companies whose products are now unavailable. Entire departments become redundant when there's no product flowing. By midweek 2, you probably know someone who lost their job. Maybe it's your cousin who works in a warehouse. Maybe it's your neighbor who's a project manager for a company that imports consumer goods. Maybe it is your college roommate who works in retail management and just got told her store is closing temporarily. The unemployment claims numbers come out on Thursday, and they're brutal. 500,000 new claims in a single week. That's higher than any week since the early pandemic. The talking heads on TV try to spin it as not as bad as 2020, but that's a pretty low bar. The pressure on Washington becomes unbearable. Corporate lobbyists are practically camping outside congressional offices. Apple, Amazon, Walmart, the auto industry, pharma companies, they're all screaming for a solution. These companies lose billions every single day this continues. Apple alone is losing maybe $500 million a day in potential revenue. They want negotiations, compromises, whatever it takes to turn the trade back on. Some are even willing to accept concessions that would have been unthinkable a month ago. You want us to stop selling certain tech to China? Fine. Just turn the trade back on. Politicians are sweating. On one hand, you can't look weak. This is China we're talking about, America's biggest geopolitical rival. The hawks in Congress are saying, we can't bow to economic blackmail. National security types are arguing, this proves we need to decouple from China completely. On the other hand, the economy is imploding in real time and voters are getting angrier by the day. The polls start shifting dramatically. Handle the economy suddenly becomes the number one issue. Above immigration, above social issues, above everything else. Congressional approval ratings, already in the toilet, somehow get worse. You start seeing protests. Workers who got laid off demonstrating outside government buildings. We need our jobs. Business owners demanding action. It's a mess. Your daily life is getting noticeably harder. Your grocery bill is up 20% from a month ago. Gas prices jumped because of the oil market panic. If you have kids, you're scrambling to find alternatives for things they need. School supplies? Good luck. Electronics for homework? Forget it. Your paycheck hasn't changed, but it's buying maybe 15-20% less than it did a month ago. If you were living paycheck to paycheck before, and let's be honest, a lot of Americans were, you're now making hard choices. Do I pay the full electric bill or buy groceries? Do I skip my medication to save money? Do I put gas in the car or pay the phone bill? Week 3 is when things go from bad to potentially catastrophic. This isn't just a trade dispute anymore, it's full-blown economic warfare, and the weapons are getting bigger. China starts making not-so-subtle threats about their ultimate weapon, U.S. Treasury bonds. They hold over $800 billion worth, still one of the largest foreign holders of American debt. What if Beijing starts dumping them on the market? They don't even have to actually do it, just the suggestion is enough. Some Chinese official gives an interview to state media. China has many tools at its disposal to respond to economic aggression. That's diplomatic speak for we could crash your bond market if we wanted to. Treasury yields spike immediately. The 10-year goes from around 4.2% to 4.9% in 2 days. That might not sound like much, but it's enormous in bond market terms. When yields go up, prices go down, which means everyone holding these bonds, from the U.S. government to pension funds to foreign central banks to your retirement account, is losing money. Higher Treasury yields mean higher borrowing costs for everyone. Mortgage rates jump from 6.5% to over 8%. Corporate borrowing gets more expensive. Credit card rates tick up. The whole economy gets more expensive to finance. The dollar starts weakening. Not crashing. The dollar is too fundamental to the global economy to crash in 3 weeks. But it's under serious pressure. China begins settling more transactions with other countries in yuan, bypassing the dollar. They announce expanded currency swap agreements with Brazil, Indonesia, and Saudi Arabia. Other nations, watching this chaos, quietly start diversifying their reserves. Why hold 60% in dollars when the U.S.-China relationship is this unstable? Maybe move 5% into euros, 3% into yen, 2% into gold. It's a slow shift, but it's happening. The era of absolute dollar dominance suddenly looks shaky. Investors are in full panic mode, fleeing to anything that seems safe. Gold hits all-time highs, blowing past $6,000 per ounce. Bitcoin swings wildly, one day up 18% as people see it as a dollar alternative, next day down 14% as margin calls forced selling. Swiss francs appreciate, Japanese yen strengthens. The Federal Reserve holds an emergency meeting. Jerome Powell and company face an impossible choice: raise interest rates to defend the dollar and combat the inflation that's spiking from supply shortages, or cut rates to support the dying economy and prevent a full recession. Either choice has terrible consequences. Raise rates? You strengthen the dollar and maybe cool inflation, but you also push the economy deeper into recession. Companies can't borrow, mortgages become unaffordable, unemployment gets worse. Cut rates? You might save some jobs short term, but inflation gets worse, the dollar weakens further, and China knows they've won. They decide to hold rates steady and issue a carefully worded statement about monitoring the situation closely and maintaining financial stability. It's Fed speak, for we have no idea what to do. For you, personally, this week is when your savings take a real beating. Your 401k, down 22 to 26% from a month ago. That money you were saving for a house down payment, it's worth substantially less, and even if you still have it, mortgage rates are now through the roof. That dream house you were looking at? Forget it. If you have variable rate debt, credit cards, certain mortgages, home equity lines of credit, your payments are about to go up. That credit card that was 19% APR, now it's 22%. Your HELOC adjusts up 2 percentage points. Money gets tighter. People start panic buying essentials. Not toilet paper this time. We learned that lesson. Now it's shelf-stable food, batteries, medications, baby formula, pet food. Costco and Sam's Club have lines out the door. Stores implement purchase limits, maximum 2 cans of formula per customer, maximum 5 pounds of rice, maximum 3 bottles of vitamins. But it doesn't stop the hoarding mentality. Everyone's thinking the same thing. What if this doesn't end in 30 days? What if it goes longer? So they stock up while they can, which creates artificial shortages of things that aren't even primarily imported from China. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy of scarcity. Social media is full of people showing their emergency supplies, TikTok videos of fully stocked pantries, Reddit threads about what to hoard. Prepper communities that were considered fringe a month ago are suddenly mainstream. Everyone's a prepper now. Week 4, political crisis and the new reality. By week 4, one thing is crystal clear. The world has fundamentally changed. Even if trade resumes tomorrow, nothing will ever be the same. The U.S. threatens sanctions. The president gives a primetime address. We will not tolerate economic coercion. China will face consequences. It sounds tough. It plays well to the base. There's just one tiny problem. How do you sanction a country you're completely dependent on? It's like threatening to punch someone while they're holding the rope you're dangling from. Any sanctions hurt America just as much, maybe more than they hurt China. Ban Chinese companies from U.S. markets? Cool. Now we have even less access to goods. Freeze Chinese assets? They'll freeze American assets in China and kick out U.S. companies. Tariffs? On what imports? There aren't any imports right now. That's the whole problem. China responds with counter threats, and these are serious. They mentioned possible restrictions on rare earth elements, those obscure materials like neodymium, dysprosium, and terbium that nobody's heard of, but are absolutely essential for everything from smartphones to missiles to wind turbines to electric vehicles. China controls about 70% of global rare earth production and over 90% of processing. They're not just talking about a trade freeze anymore. They're talking about cutting off the raw materials that make modern technology possible. This is the nuclear option of trade wars. American business leaders break with the government publicly. In normal times, CEOs stay carefully neutral on political issues. Not anymore. You've got Tim Cook, Andy Jassy from Amazon, the Walmart CEO, automotive executives, all going on CNBC and Bloomberg and basically saying, fix this or we're all screwed. Some are more diplomatic than others, but the message is the same. Resolve this now. They're even willing to say it in ways that make the administration look bad. That's how desperate they are. You've got Republicans and Democrats who normally can't agree on what day it is, suddenly united in demanding a resolution. Sure, they disagree on whose fault it is and how it should be solved, but they agree it needs to be solved immediately. The partisan bickering takes a back seat to economic survival. That's how bad it is. The rest of the world is taking notes. Europe accelerates plans to reduce dependence on both the US and China. They've been talking about strategic autonomy for years. Now they're actually doing something about it. France and Germany announced joint investments in semiconductor manufacturing and pharmaceutical production. India sees an opportunity to position itself as an alternative manufacturing hub. Modi is on the phone with every major CEO, pitching India as the stable alternative to China. Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, they're all making similar pitches. Come manufacture here. We're not going to use trade as a weapon. By day 30, America hasn't collapsed. The economy is too large, too diverse, too resilient for that. But the damage is staggering. Stock market, down $4 trillion in total value. And inflation, up 2.5 to 3 percentage points. Unemployment, up by about 850,000. Consumer confidence, absolutely destroyed. Business investment, frozen. What this means for you, personally, your money buys way less. Prices are up 32% on many items. That $1,000 monthly budget now covers maybe $750 worth of goods. Your retirement took a massive hit. The average 401k is down 23.25%. $100,000 saved is now $75,000. Your job isn't safe. Even if you kept your job, there's hiring freezes, no raises, canceled bonuses. Your health is at risk. Medicine shortages are real and dangerous for millions. Your plans are dead. House buying, car buying, college savings, all derailed. This is 21st century warfare. No shots fired. Just supply chains weaponized. And we're all casualties. The 30 days would end. Economic pain is mutual. But trust, that's gone forever. And that changes everything.